Good afternoon. I'm Carmel Angelo, Mendocino County Chief Executive Officer, and thank you very much for being with us today. Today we have a special session on businesses, on local businesses, and a COVID-19 business update. We will be starting today with Congressman Jared Huffman, who will talk about his work and what's happening at the federal level. And then we will go to Senator Mike McGuire, who will talk about what he's doing at the state level. And then we will go to Petrillo from West Company to talk about all things business and COVID here in Mendocino County. But before we start, I would like to say that Congressman Huffman and Senator McGuire have been instrumental in assisting not only Mendocino County, but our whole region in being able to have an effective response to the COVID-19 pandemic. I would also like to say that this is, while COVID-19 is unprecedented, some of the support that we are receiving at the federal and state level is also unprecedented. This is an opportunity for federal, state, local governments to all work together, and I have to say that we are all working together, and I really thank our representatives. This is evidenced by the fact that in 14 days we received an approval letter from FEMA that we will get an upfront payment of $750,000. For those of you that have been following all of the disasters we've had from 2017 on, this really is unprecedented. And I want to thank our representatives, and I'd like to thank Congressman Huffman for the work that he's done in assuring that the federal government will come through as needed for local agencies to continue with a response to COVID-19 to keep the public safe. So at this point in time, I'd like to turn it over to Congressman Huffman. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Carmel, and it's good to be with you and your team today. I think one of the reasons that Senator McGuire and I are so eager to dive in and help in any way we can is we know how hard this is hitting the communities that we represent. And from the federal perspective, I'll tell you that I see two simultaneous crises. Obviously, we have a public health pandemic unlike anything any of us have lived through in our lifetimes. But that is obviously forcing upon us an economic crisis that is equally unlike anything we've seen in our lifetimes. And we have to confront both of them at the same time. So on the public health side, let me just say that your Mendocino County Public Health team has been a great ally and a resource to me and to my office. These weekly calls we've been having with public health directors have really helped keep us apprised, given us that ground level frontline feedback that we can take back into Washington or to Sacramento, as the case may be. And Senator McGuire and Assemblymember Wood are now joining me on those weekly calls with the various public health leaders in all 6 of the counties I represent. So we are a unified team, and I really very much appreciate the leadership I've seen in Mendocino County and the partnership. So on the public health side of this crisis, you're obviously advised by good, competent folks there, but from the policy perspective, as complex and vexing as this is, I think right now it comes down to 2 things that are pretty straightforward: testing and PPEs. When we get enough tests and when we get enough protective equipment stockpiled to be ready to meet any surge that we might have, we can then begin doing some great things, relaxing some of these shelter-in-place requirements, reopening the economy, and doing it in a way where we can be confident that we won't have an unmanageable outbreak. Until we get that level of testing capacity and that stockpile of PPEs, all of this conversation about relaxing and reopening is to some extent academic. And that's my frustration, because at the federal level, even 2 months into this crisis, we still don't have a national strategy for ramping up our testing strategy and providing that PPE stockpile. In fact, we don't even have a single person that is in charge. We have lots of competing efforts, and frankly, it's chaos. And that is why your public health director and the various hospitals and clinics in Mendocino County, and even the governor of California, are all simultaneously going it alone, out there trying to find their supply chains, trying to compete with each other. And with everyone else in the world simultaneously, because this is a global crunch for these critical supplies. And it's not working. So I know that Senator McGuire and Assemblymember Wood share my desire to get more clarity on when that testing capacity will materialize. I'm hopeful Governor Newsom will be successful in going out and procuring his own testing capacity. That's what he said that he's going to try to do between now and the end of the month. But there are some special tools available at the federal level that could solve this problem. The Defense Production Act is the big one, where literally the administration could marshal our manufacturing capacity and just drive the solution to this problem. And it's not happening. So I will keep pushing. And in the meantime, I'll keep willing to dive in and make phone calls and do whatever I can to help you as you compete with literally the rest of the world in this helter-skelter quest for supplies. But we have got to do better. Now, on the economic side of this crisis, it is all about providing a safety net to keep the lights on, to keep people able to pay their rent and essential expenses until the economy comes back. And right now, we are temporarily paused on the Paycheck Protection Program, and that's getting a lot of coverage. I'm equally concerned that we're temporarily paused on the disaster loans and the disaster grants, because those are important tools, as I suspect Mary Ann can explain to you, to push resources out to the real small mom and pop folks who need them the most. And let me be real clear as well that the Paycheck Protection Program, as important as it is, and the demand's been very high, it's not been working well. And if we had it to do all over again, we might have realized that trying to push $350 billion out the door very quickly using largely big banks is not a great way to make sure that they go to the small folks who need it most. And it has been abused, and it has been very ineptly administered. And so a lot of small businesses, a lot of nonprofits have been jerked around. They've been put in long lines by lenders. Their community-based lenders have struggled to get approvals through the SBA. And we've pushed a lot of money out to folks who may not have needed it the most. That's my principal frustration. We built in incentives for banks to push these funds through to their biggest lenders in the biggest amounts. That's how they make more money. That's how they shore up their lending portfolios. And as we move more money now into the program, and everybody wants to do that, we've got to take this opportunity to also fix the program. And to broaden the base of community lenders so that we can get the money to the people who need it the most. So that's going to be my focus on the economic side of this crisis. I think I'll stop now and yield to Senator McGuire and others, but happy to take questions. And thanks again for your great leadership at the county level.
Thank you, Congressman Huffman. Senator McGuire, are you ready?
Madam County Administrator, thank you so much for having us. We're really grateful to be here. I want to say thank you to the Board of Supervisors from Mendocino County. Of course, your incredibly capable CAO, Carmel Angelo, the sheriff, of course, all the local leaders in Mendocino County has stepped up to be able to meet this challenge. And I want to take a moment to say thank you to Congressman Huffman. This is an all hands on deck effort from the top down. There is no one more tenacious in his advocacy for small business and fighting for us in Washington, D.C. than the congressman, and it is a pleasure to be on with him. And I also want to say thank you to Assemblymember Wood, who is a tremendous partner at the state. Would very briefly like to be able to go over some of the programs that the state is focusing on, spending most of my time, if it's all right, County Administrator, on the issue of unemployment. But I think that we can all agree this has been an incredibly tough month for everyone. And it's amazing how much life can change so quickly. And the good news is this: the early decisive action that was taken by Mendocino County, Dr. Doohan, and public health officers throughout the region has literally saved thousands of lives. And while virus numbers are continuing to grow across California, the rate of spread has slowed significantly, and it's thanks to the sacrifice of so many on the North Coast. Quickly, I would like to be able to focus on patient numbers in hospitals across the North Coast. Here's the good news. On a daily basis, the congressman, our office, the assembly member's office, checking in with hospital leaders. The good news is that patient census numbers continue to be at or below average. When we take a look at protective equipment, we are in constant contact with the counties throughout the North Coast, ensuring that hospitals have what they need to meet demand, of their hardworking staff. And at this point, we have what we need on protective equipment. We know that's not going to last. And that is why California is moving forward on a $900 million expenditure, a state contract to secure protective equipment for the next 14 months. So going above and beyond what the Congressman was just referencing, what we have seen from the federal stockpile in protective equipment. We want to say thank you to the Congressman for the advocacy for our region. And we're going above and beyond that and securing $900 million worth, about 40 million N95 masks every month that will start flowing into California starting in May. We talk about testing. Testing has been our continued challenge. It was a challenge in the beginning, and it's a challenge now. California hopes, best case scenario, to be at 25,000 patients per day tested across the state. That is inadequate. We know it. And we continue to work on securing the supplies that we need to be able to bring home a homegrown option, if you will, in testing in California. Capacity at labs is not our issue. The issue is actually having the supplies to conduct the saliva-based test. On food banks and food pantries, they are seeing record numbers of residents based off of our skyrocketing unemployment numbers. The state of California has invested $20 million in food banks over the last 2 weeks to increase food purchasing, bulk purchasing across California in small communities and large here on the North Coast and throughout the state. More to come on that, I promise. We've also moved the National Guard into large food bank warehouses to be able to move logistics forward on food distribution. On unemployment, Madam County Administrator, some sobering news. Approximately 3.1 million Californians have now applied for unemployment in the last 6 weeks. I'm going to compare that to all of 2019. In all of 2019, 2.2 million Californians applied. So we're seeing record demand. And I want to own some of our challenges, and I apologize for this. We must do better to process hundreds of thousands of claims each and every week, and we have to expand call center hours. So here's where we're at. Starting this coming Monday, April 20th, call center hours through the EDD, our unemployment department, will be from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. We're going 7 days per week, starting on Monday. We have retrained additional 740 staff within the unemployment department. They have now been put on processing claims. This additional staff of 740 is helping us turn around tens of thousands of additional claims every week. We have another 600 employees that are being trained even as we speak today. They will be put to work starting next week, expanding our call centers and processing additional claims. We are now processing hundreds of thousands of claims every week, more to come. And again, we are so sorry for the delay. I want to end it here on unemployment saying Congressman Huffman and the federal government have really come through for independent contractors, sole proprietors, as well as gig workers. And so many of those folks have not seen a check in 6 weeks, a paycheck. Starting April 28th, California will launch our program working with the federal government for independent contractors, gig workers, and sole proprietor business owners. You will go onto the unemployment website here at the state. You will put in your application, and we will guarantee a 24 to 48 hour turnaround time to receive your first payment. Payments will be backdated to February 2nd if your job was impacted by the virus in February. So we'll go back February 2nd. Gig workers, sole proprietors, as well as independent contractors will receive $600 per week for 4 months. So that's some good news. I'll wrap it up right here. We're hearing from cities throughout the North Coast here in Mendocino County about the need for some help with sales and use taxes. We're working with cities to be able to get them backfilled on the deferment that the state moved forward. We're focusing on tourism at the appropriate time, following Dr. Duhan's lead, getting folks safely back out later this year for tourism. We're going to take a $54.5 billion hit to the visitor industry in California, and we're working on an injection of state dollars towards tourism. And then finally, on the issue of small businesses, we're working with Congressman Huffman, the county, cities, and Assemblymember Wood and Chambers on a platform so that businesses are prepared in Mendocino County when Dr. Duhan deems appropriate to open up our communities. I will tell you, as the governor said, it's not going to be a light switch. We will not swing open our doors immediately. It's going to be slow. It's going to be deliberate and strategic. But when Dr. Duhan is prepared, we want to make sure that our small business community is prepared to march with her. I'm sorry I went on for so long. Madam County Administrator, thank you for having us and happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Senator McGuire. Before we move on to Marianne Petrillo, I want to respond to Congressman Huffman saying that he would take questions. I have one question for both of you, Senator McGuire and Congressman Huffman, before we move on to Marianne. And that question is that you do a lot for us, and what do you need from us to help you serve us better?
Well, I'll take a shot at that and look forward to hearing what Senator McGuire has to say. From my point of view, the more you can quantify what kind of testing capacity you would like to see in Mendocino County in order to proceed with your plans for gradually reopening or loosening your shelter-in-place requirement, the more we can then go and advocate for that testing capacity, because it's chaotic out there. As I mentioned, you are competing with everyone at the same time. And the more we can take a specific ask, and if you can quantify that and incorporate that into your strategic plans, we'll go to work and try to fight for that.
Thank you. Senator McGuire? Thank you so much, Madam County Administrator. Look, the Congressman is spot on a call that he hosted yesterday. I think the other piece of this is how we can take a regional approach to the potential and eventual loosening of the stay-at-home orders, so that we look at a unified approach, whether it's from the Bay Area up to the Oregon border. But as much as we can be unified as possible, I think that's going to be important as a region to move forward together. And I know those discussions are already happening. The second piece is making sure that we're keeping track of our losses, whether it's property tax losses for local government, sales and use tax losses for local government, so that we're tracking that. And by the way, the county administrator has unfortunately become really good at tracking those losses because of the fires. But I think that's the other piece is, as we go forward, seeking both federal as well as state funding, we're going to need that backup and making sure that we are attached at the hip with you on hard and firm numbers. So that's the other piece where we can continue to work together on. And I know that process has already started and will continue here in the weeks to come.
Thank you. Thank you both. Okay, so let's go ahead and go to Marianne Petrillo, who is the Executive Director of West Company. And for those of you that may not know, West Company is really the business and economic arm of Mendocino County. They serve as a great partner with us. So Marianne?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you so much, CEO Angelo, for inviting me here today. And I'm happy to be on this call with Congressman Huffman and Senator McGuire. And your words are definitely helpful to the small business community that is struggling so badly right now in Mendocino County. I think especially what you addressed, Congressman Huffman, about the need for these smaller micro businesses and mom and pop shops who don't have the safety net built in. They are using their resources that they have and the businesses that they have grown to sustain their livelihood day by day. And so not having any of the financial support coming out has been very, very hard on them in particular. I would like to address to the community the fact that the portals now have shut down, at least temporarily, for both the EIDL and the PPP. As much as this has been disheartening for many, for those who did not apply, we want to recommend that this is the time to get your financial house in order. They will, I'm sure, with the good work of the people that we have in our Congress and in our Senate doing right by small businesses, they will reopen. So take the time now, work with West, work with advisors, work with whoever you need to make sure that you're getting all your financial paperwork ready so that when it does become open and the funds are released, hopefully for the smaller individuals who really need the money, your applications will go through quickly. And we at West, of course, are here to help you with that. The other thing I would like to say is that we are also addressing underserved communities, especially in Mendocino County, by launching a series of Latino webinars specifically for Latino businesses. So that is launching this week, and I think it's important for everybody to go to our site and check those webinars out. We are definitely keeping that whole community of business owners apprised. And the other thing that I wanted to say in regard to what Senator McGuire was talking about, a regional approach, we are working with our other county, my county counterparts in different counties to create an economic injury data collection so that we could give you the information that you need to fight on our behalf. And not only will you see it from Mendocino County, but you'll see it from Humboldt and Napa and Sonoma and Lake. These surveys that we are sending out to the business community are going to be very important so that you can, fight on our behalf and know actual data of what is happening in our communities. And then finally, in regard to, or in continuation, I should say, of keeping county officials informed on what to do as shelter in place perhaps gradually gets released. We are launching next week a series of individual industry roundtables. We're keeping it to, starting out next week with smaller groups. We're going to start out with retail, lodging, wineries, and food and agriculture and restaurants. And each day we will conduct a webinar to hear from the business owners in that industry how and in what way they think they could help the county and their businesses get released, for the shelter, when the shelter in place order gets released. So we have these webinars scheduled. They are on our COVID site. They're really designed to hear more from the individual business owners than for us to be giving information about what to do next. Because I think what will be helpful for a lot of county and government officials is they could get that information straight from the business owner of how they are going to be operating in a COVID economy in this new COVID world. So we're going to record the sessions, we're going to document the sessions, and we're going to pass that aggregate it and pass that information along to county, state officials, whoever needs that information. So this way by industry what the needs are, and that hopefully will also positively help the health directive personnel in deciding, how things get changed and addressed. So I hope this is helpful. I'm happy to answer any questions, but we're here for the businesses of Mendocino and Lake County at westcenter.org. You can check our website out.
Thank you, Marianne. And again, thank you, Congressman Huffman, Senator McGuire, and Marianne Petrillo from West Company. At this point in time, we're going to close, but I would also like to announce that our health officer, Dr. Duen, will be on Facebook and YouTube here at 2:30 to give a report to the public. So please stay tuned, Facebook and YouTube at 2:30 to hear Dr. Duen. And again, this has been COVID-19 Business Update with Congressman Huffman, Senator McGuire, and Marianne Petrillo from West Company. Thank you to this community for assisting, for staying home and staying safe. Thank you.